do we recognize that we're in a bubble when we're in a bubble, or is it something that we truly don't want to recognize until after it's happened?
Well, I would suggest to you we don't want to recognize we're in the bubble, though we do. I mean, one of the things that's always so interesting is towards the end of every bubble, there are always the murmurs. You hear people saying, oh, it's got to be a bubble, it's got to be a bubble, and yet you don't want to allow yourself to believe it's a bubble because you still see it going up and you think, if I'm not on this train, I'm going to miss it. And that's almost by definition what a bubble is all about. But then invariably, everybody jumps off the train virtually at the exact same time because they see one guy get off and they go, oh my God, maybe he knows something I don't.
Right. So again, 99, you go through one, 2000,
right.
2006, 7, 8, the whole credit story
starts all over again.
Which is why you've written this book.
Right.
And why did this echo bubble, and I'll call it an echo bubble,
right.
if you agree or not, that's a whole different issue, but why do you think we kind of went through this whole series of micro bubbles in just shy of a decade?
That's a great question. I think that in every instance we were always trying to push off a larger problem, and I suspect in this instance, by the way, we may be trying to do the same. We have yet to, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a sec, but we've yet to really deal with fixing the undergirding, the underpinnings of the problem. So right. you look at what we did in the end of 2000. For a while there, low interest rates seemed like a nice idea in terms of trying to spur the economy. I think you can argue now, obviously, that those rates were kept too low for too long. But again, I think that's part of how do we reinflate the system, right? It's always about, in a funny way, you talk about bubbles, it's always about how do we reinflate the bubble? And the question is, how big does the bubble become? Because depending on how big it gets, that's going to be how big it pops. And so I think we in that case reinflated. And we can talk about deregulation, we can talk about subprime, we can talk about home ownership in this country. There's a lot of reasons that led to where we are today, but I would suggest to you that just from a monetary policy issue, it's always been about how do you reinflate the economy, and then the real question is when do you take your foot off the brake, and that's always the conundrum.